Out now brown cow. Out now brown cow.
Unique New York.
Unique New York.
The arsonist had, what is
The
that?
Eskimo had oddly shaped feet. The arsonist.
Oh, shit. You guys should know all those by heart. Come on.
We should. We only know like three. We just been saying those three every time. There's more.
That's true.
We should go through that whole intro every time we start.
Which, dude, yeah. Unique New York. What's the Ow Now Brown Cow? Unique New York. The Eskimo had a...
There is some on arsonist.
There is an arsonist.
Yeah, I remember that.
No, there's another one that you say that I've forgotten. I feel like.
I don't know. Welcome back to Black Bull Podcast. Today we got a really interesting person on, Andre Fortes. And he's an artist here in Portland, known for illustration. He's got some cool ideas. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
So I do love the handle you have for your Instagram.
Oh yeah, that's pretty good.
It's Primal Screaming with Friends.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to hear the background of how you got that name, what it means to you, and yeah, just that whole story.
Sure. Well, no problem. I actually didn't come up with it. My close friend Emily Keene came up with that name, and it's I'm sure she has her own ideas about what it means, but for me, the idea of Primal Screaming with Friends has to do with this idea of like, throwing yourself into difficult and kind of fringe situations in order to find out, what and who you are. And the friends part kind of just adds a little bit of humor to that idea as well. And it comes from the, like primal screaming form of therapy that I think was initiated in the 70s, and it was like very experimental, like connected with the hippie movement and totally bizarre. So yeah, that's where that came from.
Yeah, like primal screaming as a like weird form of like therapy in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah. Ben decided to get up.
It's essential.
So it's almost like a juxtaposition of two ideas, and that's really what your artwork has seemed like to me, where it will show one thing and you'll think that the caption will be what you see, but the caption is almost the exact opposite.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to put things together that normally wouldn't be together in order for, us to question the context of things or just the ideas behind our presumptions. And humor plays a big role in that too, because you can look at anything through the lens of humor and suddenly it becomes new and fresh.
You ever think like juxtapositional art should almost be its own category sometimes? Because it's just like you can't, it's so hard to compare it to other types of art.
Totally.
Yeah,
I'm sure it is in a lot of people's minds its own form, because there's so many, like, I feel like that branch of art has really exploded in the last, 20 years or so. And
yeah, like memes.
Exactly.
Like memes have like heavily capitalized on them, and it's almost the only type of meme that exists now is the juxtapositional, where they took something else and they're just writing a caption for it.
So
that's
true.
Totally out of context or totally different context,
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and they'll take like full shorts or something, like a full like animated short or like short movie that someone made for a completely separate purpose, and then just give it a different caption, and then it has this whole
hilarious.
new meaning. Yeah, you're just like, whoa, that totally is what that would be like.
Yeah. But you have like a lot of artistic value to your work. It's not
a meme.
It's definitely not a
I'm
meme.
not trying to reduce it to
No.
a meme.
You know what? I actually think a lot of the time that what I do is make memes. I really do. No, seriously.
Fancy memes, yeah.
I mean, they're not fancy. They're analog. They're analog memes. Like I'm taking these images from all over culture, and obviously, I think a lot, oftentimes, not all the time, about like the sources or whatnot. But in reality, I'm just taking images, putting them in new contexts, and like putting my own emotive or intellectual spin on those things. It's like literally the same process as making memes. And I think that's cool, because I don't think memes are a low form of expression, actually. They can be super advanced. Not all the time.
They're effective. They're effective for sure, and that's why they've blown up in the past 10 years.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I do like it though.
They've taken on lives of their own, and they're amazing.
They're pretty awesome.
Yeah. So you draw, you paint, but your main focus is drawing.
Yeah. At the moment, I'm doing a lot of illustration, and that is kind of what gets the most visibility. But I think that happens because they're also the fastest thing to do. So I can bust them out a lot faster than I can, say, a 5 foot by 5 foot oil painting or, something of that nature.
I was going to say they look like, and I mean this in the most complimentary way. They look like they were done really fast.
Oh, they are.
But yeah. But like they look
with emotion.
Yeah, but they look so good. Like I could never dream of doing that. It's like they look
Thank you.
the actual like because I worked with a buddy who used to serve a lot of the animators at Disney, and he showed me a lot of their drawings, and they look just like yours.
Interesting.
Yeah, they would do like these 5-minute napkin drawings, and and that was the first thing I thought of when I saw yours. So I was like, I wonder if he just whips these up, kind of like these people who actually work for Disney do. So that's why I'm not saying it's not shitty. It's good. Yeah,
Totally.
yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah, and that's something I really enjoy. I mean, it's a product of the fact that I am working very quickly, and I like to work very quickly. But it's also I don't know. It's a beautiful kind of thing in and of itself.
Speed's the name of the game these days with creation, and it's unfortunate. I mean, there's projects that you need to put time into, but they're few and far between now. Like people just want to crank stuff out.
Where do you seek inspiration for your artwork?
Nowhere in particular. It's everywhere, you know? Like, and like it comes from everything. It comes from situations I find myself in with my friends, or it comes from documentaries I'm watching, or books I'm reading, or something I overhear that's just like totally fucking absurd, and I'll just like immediately write it down, and a week later it'll become a drawing in a totally different context, but nowhere in particular, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, when I look at your artwork, what comes to mind is nervous laughter.
Totally.
It's just like a bunch of nervous laughter the whole time. And I like that. I think that's hilarious because I think nervous laughter is just funny in itself. I don't want people to laugh when they're nervous.
Totally.
It's a weird idea.
I get in trouble because I laugh in the worst situations. It's fucked up.
Yeah.
I really do. But yeah, so that makes sense. Yeah.
You had the one where it was like the feet, like Jesus' feet.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
I won't say what it is, so you guys gotta see it. But I saw that, and I'm like, oh my God.
Oh man, we can't say what they are.
Oh,
you can say what it is. It was the drawing where it was a drawing of I think Mary Magdalene, whatever her name is.
Magdalene.
Thank you.
Yeah.
At Jesus's feet, and the caption
cross.
Underneath said, it's okay to be really into feet or something like that.
And there's a nail coming out of his feet.
Yeah, it's really funny.
It's like really bad.
Yeah, it's Jesus on the cross, full blown gore.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Damn.
It's but there's some that are a lot more innocent than that. I mean, that's
That's
definitely
why
the edgiest one.
That's why you didn't want to say that one.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's definitely like the
that's all right though.
again nervous laughter.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my God.
Yeah, and I like how you actually. Well, obviously, like the Mickey Mouse drawings, like obviously reminded me of the Disney.
Yeah, you did have a lot. Going up.
He keeps coming back over and over again.
So-
I mean, it's fun to just use icons for your own purposes.
Is that like, why do you like the Mickey Mouse one? Just because of the irony that you feel like he brings to
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
as like a pop culture icon, I think he's a really interesting one because while he is this completely innocent character, he also comes from a very messed up background, like Disney was basically a Nazi, and that's not something that's like discussed all that much. And
well, he was close. I've looked into this because I heard it so much, and he was more like it was more like he was friends
with Nazis.
But
Right.
like, and when you say it like that, it sounds so bad. And I still don't I don't love Walt Disney or anything. I'm not trying to defend him at all.
Right.
But I was like really looking for like incriminating stuff, and I was like, I don't see anything here that's like what didn't everyone have a few Nazi friends back then? Probably.
I think so. I think so. Honestly, I mean, Ford was too.
If you're a powerful white dude, you probably had a couple Nazi friends.
Totally,
and
anti-Semitism was rampant at that time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think it's interesting that
He probably just didn't sympathize with Jews or something, which isn't cool. But
I think he straight up hated them actually. But,
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. But I think it's interesting to have this character that's still so celebrated and still so innocent, and it has this origin story that's not necessarily that. because history isn't that. But yeah, and then of course it's just a powerful thing to subvert. Same with Jesus, another cultural icon I like to subvert often.
Mm-hmm. Damn.
I've noticed that like millennials are obsessed with taking cultural icons and just making fun of them, or like the image of them, or juxtaposing them in certain ways. Like that's been something that people have been doing it forever, obviously, but it just got taken so far, like when shows like Family Guy came out and stuff, and like
totally.
you know what I mean, like, and obviously
Simpsons.
Family Guy's not made by The Simpsons too. The Simpsons didn't like just chuck it at you, like like 25 people every episode, 25 like pop icons or culture icon references every episode. And that's almost what's the whole entire show is. It's just a bunch of culture references and mocking them. And then the reality TV kind of came out and became a huge thing with our generation, at least in terms of viewership and
Totally.
all that kind of stuff.
I mean, I think that that's a product of our generation, like we live in a postmodern era and we don't have like the solidity of meta narratives anymore, so like all we have now are the references basically. Like there's very little solid ground to stand on besides the culture we're swimming in constantly.
Damn, that's the best point I've ever heard about that. Yeah. No, I mean that's totally true. I've thought about this so much, and that's never crossed my mind. That's like completely. That's exactly what it is. Sorry, my mind's blown. No, totally. Because there are no roots. Like people are less religious, and people just don't know what's going on because there's so much
in anything anymore.
Yeah, because there's so much information. And when you get that much information, you realize that it's really hard to it's really hard to have like a logical grounding.
Totally.
That outside of like biology.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, that's why people pushed religion so much back in the day. Whether you believed it or not, they believed that it kept you within morals.
Yeah.
No matter what.
I think there's a point to that. I think there's a point to just being like spirituality is somewhat real in the fact that like, if you like try your best and are a good person, your life's probably not going to suck that bad.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the total, like there is logic behind it, but there's also like, it works so well that it seems beyond logic almost sometimes. And I think that's what spirituality provides for a lot of people. You know?
Big time. And like the difference between, spirituality and religious practices or whatever is that spirituality hopefully is like an internal thing that comes out, whereas religion oftentimes is an external thing that's like put on you. And
totally,
that
yeah, exactly.
is not good. It's ineffective.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And now that people are abandoning religion, flat Earth is a big thing now.
Oh my God.
How come you haven't done something about flat Earth?
Flat Earth isn't. I don't want to touch it at the moment.
You don't want to give any credit.
Yeah, it's too
like
fucking real.
It's like Trump. It's like I don't like making fun of him that much because it's like I'm tired of giving him the airspace or the screen space or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like it gets old.
And there's certain things that seem to be impenetrable with any form of critique or humor or anything. You know what I mean? Like Trump is one of those things where the more you make fun of it, the more attention you give it, the more it seems to flourish.
I agree.
That's why we're in the situation that we are right now.
Absolutely.
That's why the Kardashians are big.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
That's the only reason.
Yeah.
I totally agree. And the flat Earth thing is hilarious because they literally don't have ground to stand on.
Yeah.
And but they don't. You can't. A flat earther will never have a logical discussion about why the Earth is flat. They will leave before it gets to that point. That they'll be like, "Look, I saw this picture of the Earth where it didn't look like a total globe. Therefore, the Earth is flat." And you're like, "Well, but wait, could be all kinds of other things
There's
going on
so much
here."
more. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're like, "Nope, I'm going to bed."
Yeah.
And you're like, "Oh, okay, that's great."
I kind of believe deep down that 80% of flat earthers are just trolling because they think it's
I know.
funny.
There's
Like,
something about it's
I
like
think so too.
Yeah, no,
it's like there were a couple that like really believed it and they were just complete
sure.
idiots, and everyone else like, oh, this is hilarious. Let's run with it.
But like any joke, you keep saying it and you invest yourself and it can become real too.
It is real. There's definitely people who believe it.
Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving is like a real
So
dude.
Shaq is a
Shaq
flat
too?
earther.
What?
He's a flat
Oh
earther.
my God, Shaq, come on, man.
But then again, he's not known for being the brightest dude,
No, he'd never had
It's
to
true,
be.
but he's a hero.
He's Superman. what do you do? Like, what's your daily routine when you are doing artwork? Because we do promote like lifestyles for artists, and we think it's really important, interesting to hear different perspectives. What is like a normal day for you?
Well, I wake up pretty early and I make some coffee and I spend some time on the internet just waking up, like between 6 to 8.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, normal, early. And then I start getting to work between 9 to 10, sometimes 11 if I'm being really lazy, or depending on how much pot I smoke in the morning. And then I'll work until, you know, between 2 or 4. And those are usually the best hours of my day. But that's like the concentrated hardcore production time. I kind of feel like I'm constantly working just at various, you know, there's a lot of tangential elements to being an artist that aren't super intense, but they need to get done regardless.
Yeah.
And then for the rest of the day, I don't know, I'll exercise or hang out with my friends or hang out with my partners. Yeah, kind of varies, but work also never stops, you know.
Yeah, and there's so much more when you're building up a personal brand than just drawing.
Totally.
I noticed so much. You have a really, like, your site has so many different types of merch on it as well. I mean, that seems like a whole animal you got to tame right there.
Yeah, for sure. Luckily, we live in a time where that is easier than ever before to kind of tame that animal, but it's still a lot of work and takes a lot of effort. Yeah, and it's not just making the things, but it's, you know, photographing the things and like photographing them in a cool space and like blah, blah, blah. So you got to organize your friends. And, you know, I don't know how many times I've dragged my friends to some park somewhere just to photograph a t-shirt. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to follow up with, you know, how do you promote yourself other than your site and coming on podcasts? I mean, what do you kind of do to get your name out there? Because you've done a decent job.
I mean, really, it's been the internet. I also try and fail a lot of the time to be a presence in the art scene here in Portland. But I'm kind of a reclusive person. So like it takes a lot of energy for me to get myself to First Thursday every month. But that's another way too, you know, like being connected with the Portland art community.
Your art is so internet. You need to stay in your
totally
hole.
Is. I know. I know.
Don't go out. It's gonna change you internally, and then you're gonna make shit.
Yeah.
There is something to be said about that, though. When you put your work in a place that it's not supposed to be, you can't get discouraged.
For sure.
Because you're not going to get the response that you're used to, and it could be kind of a downer.
Totally. And that's very much a thing. Like this work actually began when I was in grad school in Eastern Washington at WSU, which is a super isolated place. And like in conjunction with like the depression that I felt with the isolation and like all the stuff, I also just didn't have very many friends there. So inevitably I started making this like quick, dark, humorous stuff as probably a form of like coping, you know? And the internet was my only like escape from Eastern Washington, which I don't know if you guys have been there, but there's like nothing there. So I lived on the internet for years, and like that's really where this work came from. So there's something to that.
We've been to the Gorge, so it's probably like the area surrounding the Gorge, kind of, right?
It's like past the Gorge, less trees, lots of hills, lots of wheat fields.
Is it kind of deserty?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
What do you do
beautiful.
out there? What does it
Nothing.
do? Yeah.
You don't do anything.
Wait, what city is WSU in?
Pullman.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there's like nothing to do.
It's a college town.
It's a college town.
College towns, there's nothing to do generally. That's usually.
If you drink, you drink.
Yeah.
If you don't, then I don't know, you read, I guess. But I spent 2 years pretty much in my studio making work, which is great for that. Like it's an excellent experience for creativity.
Yeah, if you truly want to work, I mean, it's being isolated is the best.
Well, there's different kinds. I mean, the isolation tactic is good just to get stuff done, but then you need to have that inspiration period where you do go out and you do see other things and just be re-inspired. I think that's healthy too. But if you could find like that happy middle, where you can go both sides and then just still be productive as hell.
For sure. I feel like Portland is that happy middle, actually.
So,
yeah, because it's a very calm city, and you know, you can kind of just like coast if you want to, but there's also a lot of culture here too if you want that. Mm-hmm. But you're not inundated constantly or just consumed by it.
Yeah, and I feel like you just gotta find it. in Portland. It's there. Some people have an issue locating it,
For sure.
but I
It
feel
is
like
there, though.
once you take those steps and you immerse yourself a little bit, you see all the opportunities around you just to be more immersed and more
Yeah, for
inspired.
sure. And like a good example is actually coming up right now. The Time-Based Arts Festival is going to be happening soon
Ooh.
at the Pica space, and that's like an incredible world-class, art week, and that only happens here. Like, I don't think there's anything like it in the world.
Yeah, time-based art is a crazy idea. I remember learning about that
amazing.
when I was studying fine arts. Just like, it's so complicated. It's so deep too.
For sure.
You see it, you might not get it, but then you read that statement, you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like this is crazy.
Philosophically speaking, I think that's the cutting edge of, making right now.
Yeah. Such value to it. That and like big installations.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, I guess they can kind of work together sometimes. I just never got into it. It's a big investment.
It is. You have to put a lot of hours into being confused, and
Right?
just absorbing and having so many questions.
Going a little crazy too at the same time.
For sure.
Yeah. So where do you see your artwork going?
I don't really know. It's constantly changing. I'm doing tattoos at the moment, so that's like a new.
Tattooing yourself?
No, like,
Or-
well, yes, that too. But I'm like learning how to tattoo professionally, so that I can
Yeah.
do that with my illustrations as
Cool.
well. Yeah, which is why I was late today.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Tattoo went a little late. But so that's like a direction, but I don't think that's the only direction.
So is that difficult? Because when you're drawing, you have the freedom of choosing, a big pen or like a marker or a pencil, and you have different weights that you can, and like lead types.
Yeah.
With a tattoo, just because I'm not knowledgeable of this, I know there's different tips. Do you have that same kind of flexibility? Do you get like a good effective stroke? Like, how does that?
You do have that flexibility, but it takes so long to learn it. It is so hard. Tattooing is like I'm learning how to draw again, which is so frustrating.
Damn.
I think once you get good, it is that flexible, but I'm years away from that point.
Damn.
I feel like a lot of artists or illustrators have that same issue when they go from drawing to using Adobe Illustrator.
Totally.
Same thing. They're like, wait, what? This is way complicated. Why
Yeah.
would I ever do this? But then once you get good at it, it's like second nature.
Totally, and it opens completely new worlds up, for creativity.
Yeah, I always encourage people who are just drawing to start learning digital. Just try it out. It'll suck, but get rid of that phase early on so
For
that you
sure.
can, exactly what you said, have more opportunities with your artwork and just take it further.
Yeah, that's something I actually never got into, the digital sphere, like in terms of creating stuff digitally.
I hated it, man.
I believe it, and I did too. Like I have a hard time learning that kind of stuff. Like just digital practices do not come easy to me, and I just stayed away. Which is why I don't make memes. I make drawings that are memes.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I don't know how to work Photoshop to make that image.
It's just. I was gonna say, do you think as a fine artist, like at least this was my case because I started fine art, I rejected digital for many years, and I
Totally.
didn't. People who were studying graphic design, I'm like, that's not art, and that's not meaningful. What are your thoughts on that? Do you do the same thing?
No, not anymore. But I've definitely gone through that same phase, which I think is a very normal kind of thing to go through.
Yeah.
Like because in an arts education, oftentimes you're sort of taught what is more valued versus what is less, which is all kind of bullshit at this point. Like in the contemporary realm, it really doesn't matter what you do, or even how good you do it necessarily, which is kind of crazy, but that is what we're living in. But yeah, in academia, there's definitely a hierarchy to things, and creating digitally isn't pushed very often.
It's not pushed, or maybe they just don't. They don't encourage you to make fine art digitally. You
For
know what I
sure.
mean? Like
Yeah,
they teach you how
totally.
to make ads or some photo manipulation, but to continue doing art digitally, I think is important because there is opportunity. And I rejected it for so long, and then I kind of went into marketing,
Sure.
where I was forced to do digital, and then I thought, oh well, damn, I'm gonna turn this into art because I'm stubborn. I know this, so I'm stubborn as hell.
Uh-huh.
So I just kind of made it work.
That's awesome, though.
Yeah, but I like how you're turning it into tattooing because I mean I just want to see what those look like. That seems like a really cool idea.
I'll show you some pictures after this. They're actually, it's finally looking okay. I'm so happy that the tattoos I'm giving are finally good-ish.
Well, you also don't see tattoos that look like your illustration. I think
Totally.
that's the idea, like converting it into a different medium, different format. And I think that's really cool you're doing it.
For sure. And that's definitely how I see myself too. Like I don't see myself as a tattoo artist. You know, I just see myself as like a multimedia artist who happens to also work in skin now.
Yeah, that's cool.
Did you kind of? I mean, these days you kind of got to branch out and do everything, anyways. I mean, everyone
For sure.
we all say that, but it's so true. I
At
don't
least
know.
Try.
I don't know anyone who does something right now and is like, no, I'm not going to branch out at all. I think it's best if I just
stay
only
right
stick
here.
with this little tiny niche and have no flexibility. Like everyone's like, oh, I need to be a little bit more flexible right now. I don't know how long this exact job's going to be around, if it's going to keep being as good as it is, as sweet as it is.
sure.
Like, yeah, like.
But what about with music? 'Cause I know a lot of people they get upset when their favorite musician just has an album that is a completely different style than what they used to do.
Well, but musicians don't. I'm talking more about like versatility as a job because most musicians are going around doing everything with everyone for everyone. Like that, like even if like their own music may change, but like, you know, like even Post Malone's writing music for everyone. Like they all write songs for each other, you know, and like he's not just doing his thing. He's like, you know, they're collaborating like crazy because that's, first of all, it's how you make the most money. Second of all, a lot of it's just kind of like, oh, you already know the industry. Okay. Well, then you can just come in here, do your thing, and leave, and I don't have to explain anything to you, and I already know I can trust you, and that. So for them, it's like once you've had it made there and you have the talent, it's kind of easy to jump around. But I guess making an album is like making a different genre of music is a slightly different thing, you know, because you're not learning like a new genre of drawing. You're just learning a new way to apply what you're already doing.
For sure. Yeah. I don't know what the parallel would be.
I know, right?
For,
That's too
a
different.
musician making
too
different
different.
music. I'm sure there probably is a parallel out there. I just don't know what it is.
There's just learning different instruments can kind of be like that, or learning different technology sometimes.
What about Mumford Sons? Remember when they got rid of the banjo?
Yeah,
And that
Heartbreaking.
changed the whole band. Like they just
Yeah.
kind of tanked after that.
yeah,
That was weird.
yeah. I mean,
Jack White's doing country stuff now.
Yeah.
yeah, but that's because he lives in Nashville. You
Yeah.
open a thing in Nashville. He's probably collaborating too. It's probably the same thing. It's probably, and he, you know, who's to say? A lot of the times for musicians, the amount that you're showing up does not equate to the amount of money you're making. You know, like the amount that people know, that the average person knows of you, does not exactly equate to how much money you make. 'Cause
Well, now
there's-
that like record sales are meaningless,
right.
it's all
Yeah.
about the show. I guess
Pretty
maybe
much.
they could just draw in
Well, then
more
endorse-
different crowd.
endorsements and then like commercials and
Yeah.
like that kind of stuff.
believe that's
Ringtones.
still a
Back
thing.
when ringtones were a
Ringtones,
thing,
whoa.
I only brought that up because I was thinking about T-Pain recently and how much money he made just from ringtones.
Holy shit. It's
He
amazing.
made a lot of money from
He made
ringtones,
like,
you think?
I think he made like a few million from
Whoa.
ringtones. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What?
I'm in
Yeah.
the wrong business.
Yeah, but his timing was like unreal. You
Yeah,
know,
he got lucky,
he was
man.
doing it. He was making auto-tune music. He kind of he brought auto-tune into the mainstream at the same time that people
ringtones
were
really
spending
got
the
big.
most money on ringtones they ever were. And so auto-tune coming through your phone sounds better than most shit because most shit's going to get bit crushed anyways and sound like trash. So if you have auto-tune coming through, you're like, oh, it sounds bit crushed already. It's not going to get bit crushed more. It's not going to, the quality's not going to be lowered. It's still just, his voice is just snapping and shit and whatever. So
Interesting.
yeah, I don't know. That's my theory on it.
Literally something I've never thought of.
This is what happens when you obsess. This was back when I was like obsessing with music and we were doing the Forgotten Archetype and shit. So
Yeah.
that I learned all this stuff. So he was also like 20. He's only like a few years older than us. So he was like 21, 22 doing all this crap. I was like,
Yeah.
God damn it. Yeah.
Speaking of opportunities and stuff, I think you're doing a good job of like putting your stuff online, putting it on Instagram.
Thank you.
Like, what do you think are a lot of mistakes that artists make in terms of promoting themselves by obviously not going digital is one thing, but I mean, what else do you see that's going on that you just like want to tell them? Like, hey,
I don't know. I mean, everyone has a different code by which they work and operate. And there's just like a different, just like, I guess what people consider the ethics of it, because for a lot of people, self-promoting on the internet is like a big no-no, and I don't understand that anymore. There was once upon a time where I did,
but that is what the internet kind of is,
for sure,
know?
totally, yeah. And like I'm speaking for other people here, so it's twisted, you know what I mean. So I actually don't know, and I've tried to help other artists and be like, yo, why don't you just like do this and do this and do this and do this, but it's just not for them. And like I've had to learn that, because I want to like promote how to promote too, because the internet is such a beautiful and amazing tool to use for visual artists today. Like it's basically changed the landscape of visual art, especially for our generation.
Yeah.
And that's a positive thing, I think. At least it is for me. But yeah, not everyone sees it that way.
It seems like the internet's perfect for introverts.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to go face to face with people anymore. You don't have to set up something at First Thursday. You can literally sit at your place, upload it, and just let it travel around the world.
For sure. Yeah. And most artists I have found are introverts, so it seems to work very well.
You kind of got to go inside yourself to like create art.
Oh, big time.
Big time. It's like, so being introverted gives you that advantage, you know?
But you also got to put it out there. I mean, this is a reoccurring conversation we have on this podcast. Yeah. The fear
that's
of
why it's
putting
hard.
yourself out there.
There's a big fear. Yeah. That is a big hurdle. For
it's
sure.
like your brain. You're like, oh my God, what are people going to think of my brain?
Totally.
They're going to stomp on it, but this is my brain.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, am I stupid?
Yeah.
I can't believe I think like that.
Yeah. That fear is actually an interesting thing. I think there's a lot there, like I wish there was a way to get rid of that, because people should be whatever they are and be okay with expressing that to the whole fucking world,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But we have so many built-in resistances to that. And, I blame my parents, God damn it, the government, blah, blah. I mean, being hyperbolic there, but there's always those things too. But yeah, we got to get over it, because it's not helpful.
It's not going anywhere either. The internet's not going anywhere.
For sure.
You better make the best of it right now.
Yeah, it's just going to be more, the world's just going to get more and more like the internet,
Like the world's becoming the internet.
God, that's scary. Exactly. That is scary. I mean, I love the internet, but that's terrifying.
It's terrifying, but it's the reality.
It's true.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Man, I recently heard that incel, I mean, I'm deviating here, but the incel movement, they started on a internet chat room for 40-year-old virgins.
Wait, explain that for people who don't know.
The involuntary celibate internet movement.
Oh.
Yeah.
But keep explain it further.
Okay. So they began on an internet chat room for the movie 40-Year-Old Virgin, with a bunch of dudes being like, yeah, I mean, the movie was funny, but like for real, I'm like living this life. And then other people being like, oh yeah, me too, blah, blah. And that's how that culture began.
Damn.
That was just what I thought of when I thought of how the world is becoming more like the internet.
Incels become like an insult for men who can't get laid or whatever. Yeah.
I think it is to some people, and I think other people adopt it willingly too.
No, I just mean people are using it derogatorily. Like some people
sure.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not nice.
I know. I had only heard it that way first, and so I was like, "Will you please explain what you're talking about?"
Sure.
Yeah, and so now I'm like, "Oh yeah, that is."
Are they like standing up and rising together? I mean, are they using this like crowd mentality, like the?
Oh yeah, big time.
Really?
In a bad way.
Justifying
For what?
it in a
What are
weird
they
way?
trying to do? I don't know.
Oh man, I mean, I'm sure that they all have different views about what they want or whatever, but I think a lot of it is hatred towards women and hatred towards men who have a sex life. It's all self-hate, at its origin, but that's the way it's expressed, at least in terms of like their forums, It's like this, it's like entitlement to sex for no reason, like dudes that for whatever reason feel like they're owed sex and are organizing
this
online.
is what the incel movement is?
This is an aspect of it, yeah.
Okay, so that's what that was like the derogatory ways I was hearing it used. Essentially, it was really like assuming someone's like that and calling them that. But so that's accurate, really.
So they call people out for having sex?
Yes, yeah, and they have like their own terminology and stuff. Like dudes are Chads and ladies are Stacy's, you know, those like sexually active guys and sexually active females. And this is a total deviation.
No, this
I'm
is
sorry.
Wait, good.
this
No, we
means
want to hear
this
this
means
stuff.
they
yeah.
hate like 98% of the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, totally.
Yeah,
Dude, so like this
That's
has
more
been,
than probably more than 98%, but yeah.
Yeah. This has been like a joke on the internet and in life for a while, until some of these people have actually started getting violent with it. You know, like there was a recent terrorist attack that happened in Canada from one of these individuals that is like a main organizer on the incel community, you know, online community. So like, you know, it's taken a turn, let's just say that, to like a more radical form of it, as everything does because of the internet and, you know, this kind of like insulating self like feeding sort of frenzy that we can get into on Reddit
Aggrandizing.
forums and stuff.
Yeah.
Wow. That is.
I know, crazy. I just heard that like last week.
Are you gonna make art about it?
Probably.
Good. Yeah.
I gotta let it percolate. You know, you can't force these things.
Yeah.
No, I love when you talked about how you kind of, because you're doing the juxtaposition thing, you like hear something and you like let that percolate until like an image comes to mind, or
Yeah.
vice versa, or whatever. I used to totally do that when I was making the Forgotten Archetype, because that was basically like kind of a juxtapositional music. So I had
Nice.
a band that was basically we played a genre, me and Nick, and it was like a genre, and then without transition another genre, and then without transition another genre, and then it would just keep doing that.
Oh,
and
badass.
It would kind of go back to death metal constantly though, because that was the easiest thing for us to make, like by far.
Sure.
Like I could make it in like 2 seconds. So it was another speed thing. It was like, what can I do instantly? Oh, okay. Anyways,
It was also so abrupt, and it was just such a dramatic change. That's why.
Right.
That's why I think it works.
that's
You go
why
from,
it's juxtapositional.
go from
Right.
R&B just straight to like a blast beat.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I would do the same thing, right? Like have a musical idea in my head that I really liked, and I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna let that like fester for a while, and then like somehow my brain would smash with something else a week later, and I'd be like, okay, there we go. That's what this has to be.
Yeah.
But it's that is an important thing, and so it's like you got to figure out how to like let ideas like germinate. Thank you, in your brain, but also be really productive.
For sure.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, there's a fine line between sitting on it for too long and not doing anything versus just creating bullshit after bullshit, you know, for the sake of making stuff.
Yeah.
I tend to do that second one too much, I think. But it's
Yeah. Also, like letting it develop too much or putting too much thought into it. That
For
happens
sure.
a lot. Where then the idea just is stupid.
cool. Yeah, getting precious with it. Too.
Yeah, yeah. That's it though. Like another thing that I tell people is, at the end of the day, no one knows how long you put into it,
For sure.
and especially with like
So true.
yeah, with photo or
So
video, or
true.
anything. Like they get so married to it and they get so attached to it because they're like, oh, but I redid this 5 times. No one knows that, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
All they see is that end thing that you whipped up in an hour.
Yep.
And it looks maybe slightly better than the other version
Yeah.
or something like
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the biggest point is like, don't revise something if it's going to take you just as long to revise it as it did to make it, and it's only going to make it 2% better.
For
It's
sure.
not worth it.
Yeah, I've been trying to also promote that, you know, if there's a little flaw, it's okay.
Yeah.
Oh, big time.
absolutely.
Because you're
yeah.
the only one's going to see it, man.
Yeah.
You're the only
Yeah.
one.
And
The
flaws
flaw,
are beautiful too.
yeah.
I love
Yeah.
flaws, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes those are the most interesting things of any
In art,
piece
a lot
work.
of the
yeah.
time, it's ironic how often
yeah.
that happens.
And
yeah.
in music too, that's a constant
Yes,
thing. Like in old
absolutely.
recordings where there's like a producer shouting in the background, like
Yeah.
that little thing is badass, you know?
yeah, that's what I'm always thinking. Every time you guys are talking about visual stuff, I'm thinking about music. I'm like, yeah, totally. No,
If
for
everyone
sure.
tries to like, what is it, Pro Tools it? You know, where they just like with music, where like a line to the beat.
What?
No, my tongue on Pro
Nah,
Tools, right? Am I
yeah.
tongue-
Yeah, the way you're saying it though, I don't.
I'm saying it wrong.
I don't know. You
But
mean
there
just
are-
like automatically fix mistakes?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. They do that. Well, yeah.
Alex, good job.
That's more like
Alex.
Ableton Live.
No,
kinda
that was
does
sincere.
That.
That was sincere, totally. It clicked for me there. So
Yeah.
For sure.
So when you're in a rut, how do you get out of it?
I just make stuff. I just keep making stuff.
Just start going.
Yeah, exactly. And if I'm in a rut, the first or second drawing sucks, but the third is usually okay. And, you know, before you know it, you're making something interesting again.
Yeah. See, like when I'm gonna write, what I'll go to is pen and paper. But when your main medium is pen and paper, you can't just go to pen and paper. Like there's some like pre-step before that.
Well, I look at a lot of images. I look at I have like a ridiculous Pinterest board, with like thousands of stuff. So I just like go there and start looking, and inevitably that generates ideas,
Yeah.
And like I'll think of a funny thing that can go with like this medieval manuscript or whatever, and then I've got a new piece.
Yeah. What's your favorite piece you got?
I don't know. I mean, I'm really excited about this last painting I made last week. It's a big one with a bunch of color and like drippy stuff, but also it's like disembodied, like body parts like kind of floating in space.
Yeah.
I'm excited about that at the moment.
He's the second person to come here and tell us about a disembodied body part art piece.
Oh, that's a big thing. I mean, come on. Disembodied art is big.
You have some huge pieces though.
I do, yeah.
Like how did that start?
It started in graduate school, actually. We had, for our thesis show, we had access to this incredible museum at WSU, and it's huge. This place is fucking huge. So like to look appropriate, you kind of have to go big, in spaces like that. So I started making really, really large work for that show, and it looked great because of it.
Bigger's always better. It's a good tactic with artwork.
Yeah.
I always promote that.
It does
too.
work. I mean, it's not necessarily true, because I've also been working on these 9 by 12 inch little paintings of like faces that are, weird. And
Painting ones?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those are amazing just in their size, because they are like the size of a human head, so they have this like personal kind of size, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be amazing if it was like, 6 feet by 9 feet or something, but it's just very different at that point.
You got anything else you want to ask? I actually there's one last thing I want to ask, which is what motivates you?
I think my ADHD helps a lot.
Yeah.
Like I have this constant need to be doing shit. It's like really annoying. So that is a big motivator, in terms of like putting in the hours, But in terms of like the message, I'm also completely confused at this like process that we call like being a human in the 21st century. Like it makes so little sense to me most of the time. And I think that confusion is a very potent space, that like grappling with like this like hard material reality, and then like the other aspects of us, which is like something much more spiritual and ethereal and like beyond, and like where those two things meet hurts. So I don't know.
What's like the kind of primary emotion you have when you are doing those drawings?
Pleasure, mostly. When I'm thinking about what to do, it is whatever the emotion is that is attempting to be conveyed, Yeah, I guess some form of questioning is probably it.
Gotcha.
It was such a good feeling when you do a piece and it just comes out and you're happy with it.
Yeah,
totally. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen very much. You know, like that's why we're all gambling at this thing called creativity.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's a gamble. It's like 1 out of 5 times, 1 out of 10 times, you're like, fuck, yes, I did it.
We're addicted to it. It's a gambling addiction.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It seriously is. I think it seriously is.
It's true.
Yeah. Well, anyways, thank you for coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. This was really fun.
You have to come back. If you're doing like a
I would
show or
love
something,
to.
just come back totally.
Yeah, that'd be
thank
great.
you.
Yeah, that'd be great. This was a good podcast.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot for coming on. We appreciate all you guys for listening in. Make sure to like and subscrive, and we'll see you guys next time.
If you ever stole a
See you guys
motorcycle,
next
I hate you.
Oh yeah, Alex got his motorcycle stolen. If you see it,
I'll
please
find
let us
you.
know. It's ruining his life. He's becoming kind of a miserable person to be around. We would all appreciate it if you just.
Bummer.
I'm totally kidding. All right, peace out.
Bye-bye.